Adiz had lived her whole life in Umuoma, a small village surrounded by endless stretches of palm trees and red earth paths that glowed like fire at sunset. To outsiders, the village seemed peaceful and welcoming, but to Adiz, it was a place that watched her with suspicious eyes and whispered behind her back. Not because she had done anything wrong, but because of one thing she never chose, her father's work. He was the village coffin maker. From the moment she was old enough to understand words, she heard the snide comments. "Don't play too close to her," mothers would warn their children. "Her hands have touched death." At first, she didn't understand. She thought the villagers avoided her because she was shy, quiet, or simply different. It was only when she turned 13 that she heard the full weight of their judgment. Two elderly women had sat outside their compound saying loudly, "Which man will marry a coffin maker's daughter? It is like inviting death into your house." That day, Adiz cried silently under the mango tree behind her father's workshop. Her father, Motsi Chikwudi, a gentle man with calloused hands and a soft smile, found her there and placed his rough palms on her shoulders. "My daughter," he said, "people fear what they do not understand. They fear me because I work with death, not knowing I am also the one giving families dignity when they lose someone they love." She wiped her tears and nodded, but even at that young age she understood something. The village might respect her father's skill, but they would never fully respect her. As she grew older, her beauty bloomed like the bright yellow hibiscus flowers around their home. She had smooth caramel skin, eyes shaped like calm river water, and a gentle voice that made strangers pause to listen. But beauty did not save her from mockery. In fact, it made it worse. Young men admired her from afar but refused to approach. Some told their friends they liked her, but the moment they remembered her father's profession, they backed away. Their mothers didn't help either. They warned them, "If you marry Adiz, death will follow you. Her father has seen too many burials. Even if she is beautiful, that kind of lineage is dangerous." Adiz heard these things more times than she could count. Every insult left a mark, each rejection carving deeper into her heart. Eventually, she stopped trying to join village gatherings. She stayed indoors more often, helping her father polish the wooden coffins, sweeping the sawdust, reading old newspapers he brought from market trips. It was lonely, but loneliness was better than mockery. Still, she had dreams, quiet dreams she kept locked inside her chest. She dreamed of leaving Umuoma one day, going somewhere her father's work would not define her. She dreamed of a man who would look at her and see more than a stigma. But every time she looked around the village, hope seemed foolish. Everything changed the morning the stranger arrived. It started with the sound of a motorcycle engine echoing through the village square, a rare sound in Umuoma, where most people still walked everywhere. The villagers rushed out, curious, surprised, murmuring loudly. Adiz, who had been fetching water from the stream, stood at the edge of the crowd, unnoticed as usual. The man who stepped off the motorcycle was tall, dark-skinned, and dressed like someone who came from the city. Clean sneakers, iron jeans, and a simple white shirt that somehow made him look important without trying. He removed his helmet slowly, revealing a handsome face and eyes that surveyed the village with a mixture of curiosity and calm confidence. His name was Obinna. Nobody knew who he was yet, but his presence alone shifted something in the air. He didn't walk like someone seeking approval. He didn't look around nervously the way visitors did when they feared village gossip. He walked like a man who carried his own peace, his own identity, his own story. Adiz didn't know why, but she couldn't look away. Obinna greeted the villagers politely, and they greeted him back with eager smiles, especially the young women who suddenly adjusted their wrappers and pretended to be busy. Adiz simply observed, keeping her bucket steady as she watched from behind a group of women. For the first time in her life, she felt something unfamiliar, curiosity mixed with hope, a tiny spark that pushed back the loneliness she had lived with for so long. She didn't know yet that this stranger, this calm man with city eyes, would be the one person who saw her differently. She didn't know he would be the one thing her story had been waiting for, the arrival that would change everything. But that morning, as Obinna's gaze drifted across the village and paused briefly, just briefly, in her direction, Adiz felt something she had not felt in years. Seen. Obinna's return to Umuoma was supposed to be temporary. He had grown up in the village but left for the city at a young age, chasing education and opportunity. Years passed, and he only came back for major family events. This time, the event was a painful one, the burial of his uncle, a man who had raised him like a second father. The whole village expected him to stay only a few days. Nobody imagined his return would stir old beliefs, hidden envy, and long-buried secrets. On the day he visited the coffin maker's shop to choose the casket for his uncle, he stepped into the small, wooden building and saw Adiz for the first time up close. She was sweeping sawdust off the floor, her wrapper tied neatly around her waist, her hair wrapped in a simple scarf. Sunlight from the window fell across her face, and when she looked up, Obinna paused. She wasn't just beautiful, there was something grounded about her. A quiet strength, a steadiness he had not seen in many people, even in the city filled with confident professionals. "Good afternoon," he greeted warmly. Most villagers spoke to her with caution or disdain, but he spoke to her as though she was ordinary, equal. "Good afternoon, sir," she replied softly, adjusting her stance shyly. Something about her voice struck him. It held politeness but also layers, the weight of words she didn't say, the unspoken hurt of years spent being misunderstood. Her father, Motsi Chikwudi, walked in from the back and recognized Obinna immediately. They exchanged condolences, discussed wood types, and settled on a polished mahogany casket. All the while, Obinna's eyes occasionally drifted back to Adiz. Not in a romantic way, not yet. But in curiosity, respect. A sense that there was something more to her than the village claimed. After leaving the workshop, Obinna walked through the village, overhearing gossip he didn't expect. "You see how he greeted her?" one woman whispered. He doesn't know who she is." "Let him stay 2 days," another scoffed. "He will hear the story of the coffin maker's daughter." "He better be careful," a third added. "If he gets too close, misfortune might follow him." Obinna paused mid-step. Misfortune? Because he talked to someone? He shook his head, annoyed. He had just returned, but already the old superstitions irritated him. In the city, nobody cared about such nonsense. People judged you by your character, not your father's occupation. That evening, Obinna stopped by the village stream to clear his head. As fate would have it, Adiz was there, filling her clay pot with water. She saw him and quickly tried to step aside, afraid of village eyes that might accuse her of chasing him. But Obinna approached with an easy smile. "You don't have to run from people," he said gently. Adiz's eyes widened in surprise. "I'm not running, sir." "You are," he replied softly, "but I understand why." No one had ever said such words to her. She swallowed hard, unsure how to respond. They talked briefly, about the stream, the weather, the funeral preparations. It was a simple conversation, but for Adiz, it felt like a door opening. For Obinna, it felt like discovering something rare. The next day, tension erupted in the village. It started when a group of young men spotted Obinna carrying firewood toward the coffin maker's house. One of them, Chaik, a loud man who had once tried to court Adiz before being warned by his mother, sneered and said loudly, "City boy, stay away from the coffin maker's daughter if you want long life." Villagers laughed. Some nodded in agreement. But Obinna didn't. He dropped the firewood, turned to face Chaik, and said firmly, "Respect yourself. There is nothing wrong with that girl. What is wrong is how this village treats her." Silence fell. Chaik blinked in shock. "So you're defending her?" "Yes," Obinna said without hesitation, "because she has done nothing to deserve this cruelty." His words spread through Umuoma like harmattan fire. Some were impressed. Others were angry. Many were confused. Why would an educated man from the city defend the cursed girl? That night, old women muttered prayers. Mothers held their sons close. And jealous girls hissed to one another, complaining that Obinna was wasting his attention on the wrong girl. Adiz heard the gossip too, and it terrified her. She stayed indoors, afraid the villagers would blame her for Obinna's boldness. She feared for him, feared for herself, feared the storm she felt building. But despite the whispers, Obinna returned the next day. And the next. And each time, his eyes held the same calm certainty, the certainty of a man who saw beyond fear, beyond gossip, beyond superstition. For the first time in her life, someone looked at Adiz and truly saw her. Rumors spread through Umuoma like flying dust during Harmattan. Some people said Obinna had fallen under a spell. Others claimed he was only pretending to like Adiz to provoke the village. And a few insisted that he would soon come back to his senses, and avoid her like every other man did. But Obinna disappointed them. Day after day, he showed his intentions clearly. He greeted her publicly, sat with her father, helped her carry water from the stream, walked beside her during market days even while villagers stared with wide, disapproving eyes. The more they tried to shame him, the more determined he became. Yet behind Obinna's courage was a growing storm of resistance. One evening, the village elders called a private meeting. They spoke in hushed voices, worried that Obinna's behavior would set a new and dangerous example for the younger generation. If he married Adiz, other young men might begin questioning old beliefs, old fears, old traditions. And many elders weren't ready for change. "We must talk to her father," one elder declared. "Yes," another agreed. "This union cannot happen. It will weaken our customs." They marched to the coffin maker's house the next morning, demanding he control his daughter. But Motsi Chukudi stood firm. His voice was quiet but unshaken. "My daughter wants peace," he said. "She has never offended anyone. If a man chooses to see her value, who are we to stop him?" The elders left, frustrated. But their visit only strengthened Obinna's resolve. Meanwhile, Adiz felt torn. She had never known affection, attention, or genuine admiration from anyone outside her father. Obinna's interest felt like sunlight warming a cold corner of her heart. Yet she feared the consequences. She feared what the village might do to him, because of her. One night, she tried to distance herself. She met Obinna by the old palm tree near the stream and said in a trembling voice, "You should stop coming to see me. The village will not accept us." Obinna stepped closer, his gaze firm but gentle. "Adiz, do I look like a man who cares about the village's fears?" Her voice cracked. "I don't want you to suffer because of me." He touched her hand lightly. "I'm not suffering. I am choosing." Those words shattered the walls around her heart. But destiny had one more secret to reveal, one that would shake the entire village. It began when the village chief fell terribly ill. His breathing became shallow, and his family feared he might not make it. As villagers gathered, anxious and whispering, the chief did something unexpected. He asked for Adiz and her father. When they arrived, the chief requested privacy. The room fell silent as he began speaking with a weak but steady voice. "Years ago," he said, "I fell into the river at night after drinking too much palm wine. Nobody knew. Nobody saw me. Except this girl." Adiz froze. The chief continued, "I was drowning. The water was pulling me under. I thought it was the end." Tears gathered in Adiz's eyes. She remembered that night. She had heard struggling sounds from the riverbank on her way home. She didn't even know it was the chief until she dragged the unconscious man out of the water. Her father had insisted they keep it secret, fearing people would twist the story or blame her for being near the river at night. But now, the truth had surfaced. The chief raised his hand weakly and said, "This girl saved my life. And her father protected my dignity. The village must know." The revelation spread like wildfire. By evening, people flooded the coffin maker's compound. Those who once whispered curses now brought gifts: yam gari, palm oil, live chickens. Women knelt to thank Adiz. Men apologized awkwardly. The same mouths that once rejected her now praised her as brave, pure-hearted, and blessed. Adiz accepted their apologies quietly, but her eyes kept searching for one person, Obinna. She found him standing near the mango tree, watching the scene with a soft smile. When she approached him, he said, "Now they see what I saw from the beginning." Adiz shook her head, tears gathering. "But you chose me before they knew anything." Obinna touched her cheek gently. "Adiz, I didn't fall for the story. I fell for the woman." The village chief himself later summoned Obinna and declared his blessing over their union. With the chief's approval, no elder could object. And so, in front of the entire village, those who once mocked, judged, and feared her, Obinna stood proudly beside Adiz. Their wedding was simple but powerful, a ceremony that broke chains older than both of them combined. Their union didn't just challenge backward beliefs. It conquered them. And for the first time in Umuoma's history, destiny refused to be stopped.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more teachable and inspiring tales by FE.